It's time for AggroChat, the official podcast of the Tales of the Aggronaut blog and stalwart gaming community, where we talk about stuff and things, and the stuff about the things, and sometimes gaming. I'm Belghast, and let's start the show. Hey folks, it's that time again. Time for another episode of AggroChat. This is episode 504. Tonight I'm joined by Ammo.
Hello.
Ashgar.
That's a big number.
Grace.
Hi.
Kodra.
They always get bigger.
Tam.
It's my PIN number.
And Thalen.
Gateway timeout.
I came so close to saying 405 because we were talking about episode 419 a few minutes before we started recording. So my brain was still stuck back in the 400s, which was absolutely not this year.
Yeah, we're in the 500 series of errors, which means there's something wrong with the server.
Yes. Or the gateway.
I mean,
sometimes those are the same thing, but
my memory is 400 means it's your fault, 500 means it's my fault.
Right, exactly. That is true.
Sometimes it's between you and them though, and that's still 500.
Yep. So this week was the game trailer show, The Keeleys.
God.
And I didn't watch it this year.
It was the 10th anniversary, and they didn't lower expectations for it this year.
My opinion on the Game Awards is... Oh, sorry, going to tell.
I don't mind that there is a winter trailer show. That's fine. I think the Game Awards and this thing they actually do to show off all the new stuff should be different. They should be different events.
Right. They should not be treating it in the same thing, because what ends up happening is that the awards themselves are just the briefest of afterthoughts. Like, oh, hey, we're going to announce most of these before the actual show starts. So, like, I feel like the pretense of this is just, like, bad.
I am going to go ahead and declare time of death this moment for esports in general.
Ooh.
What won best esport of the year?
I have no idea.
What's the only esport you can name?
I mean, I can name two, but they're Dota 2 and League of Legends.
League of Legends was the esport of the year.
Oh.
Esports are dead.
Yeah, probably so.
Esports are the new MMO.
I mean,
nothing's changed in 15 years.
I'm not super sad.
I mean, I also would have accepted Street Fighter 6.
I want to be 100% real with you. I feel like the esports scourge was less annoying to me than the streaming scourge.
I will say I feel like fighting games are trying not to define themselves as esports because they don't want the stench of death on them.
Right. I mean, like, they have one really good show specifically that's a thing that people care about, and they don't probably need to be part of the esports scene.
Also, who do you think
Evo is not the only show.
Well, like, there's Evo, there's DreamHack, there's several, but like, I feel like that's the big one.
Who do you think won best esport player of the year?
Was it Faker?
Faker. Was it Faker?
Was Faker.
Because I voted for Faker because it was literally the only person I knew.
Oh no!
And that's part of why esports is dead. Because only the olds are watching it.
Guess who won best team of the year?
I mean, there is an obvious answer there, I suppose. And it is, in fact, SK Telecom T1. Although they're just called T1 now.
It's T1. Anyways, esports are dead. I saw that segment of the show and I was like, oh.
These are all answers that could have been true 10 years ago. Yes. The first time they ran this.
Yeah.
That's depressing.
It is depressing.
Anyhow, fighting games are definitely having a time right now. Fighting games are doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So I think they're trying to avoid this category.
Yes, they sure are.
The thing I cared the most about at the trailer show is that we got a trailer for Witcher 4. And that's the thing that I was most interested in.
I had such a moment of, this is interesting. Oh, this is interesting. Oh, I'm so excited. Hey, Warren Spector's making a new game. It's going to be a stealth-based immersive sim. You're going to be going around and like creatively exploring areas to steal stuff. It's a competitive PvP game.
Yeah.
Oh, never mind.
Oh, hell!
The game
You
that I
had
thought
me interested there for a moment.
Dang it.
the game that I thought
fool me. Yeah.
the game that I thought was the most interesting take though was Dispatch, which is
Oh, that looks pretty great.
You are playing as a washed up superhero that is now a call center operative dispatching other heroes.
That
That looks pretty hilarious.
So like it's a strategic sim to dispatch the correct hero to the correct incident that they're going to be the most successful at. And also like there's a whole story playing out around that.
Right. I love that. That sounds great.
It's I think it's some of the folks from Wolf Among Us that worked on that.
Oh,
Telltale.
some of the old Telltale people.
Yeah. I thought the new Naughty Dog game looked pretty interesting. It looks very cool.
Like I really am interested in it, but also it kind of looks like it's going to be a Dark Souls game.
Yeah, I'm curious to see where they go with it, but so far the look and the vibe is very cool.
Amazing.
Yes,
yeah, it's
I
like
love that.
Intergalactic something.
Yeah, the Hermetic Prophet.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see what that one ends up looking like.
Yeah.
It definitely has my interest.
The game that I saw that I am most interested in is the Ninja Gaiden game.
It looks really cool, but I also think I won't be skilled enough to play it.
Did you play The Messenger?
No, I didn't play The Messenger. I have The Messenger. I've just never played through it.
It looks exactly like The Messenger, and I want to play it. Like, The Messenger feels so good to play.
I was
Also,
shocked that there was another. They're gonna like reboot Onimusha.
Oh yeah, that was kind of that was wild.
Right. It's been some time since I've even thought about that one.
I mean, Capcom would like to remember that they have game. Like you to remember that they have games.
Like it was one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah,
It was a great game.
That's a fun series.
I mean, we'll see what they bring it back. As.
Speaking of Capcom making games, I hear there's a sequel.
They're making a sequel of Okami, my favorite game of all time.
Also, why?
They brought back the original director.
Oh, okay.
I am extremely interested in what's going to happen here.
Yes.
I clearly need to play through Okami because I never have.
I haven't either.
I mean,
It's
do you like
digital
games
channel.
that are kind of like Zelda?
I do like games that are kind of like Zelda. Actually, most of my favorite games are kind of like Zelda.
Maybe you should play Okami.
Mm-hmm. It's real cheap on Steam right now.
It is very, very cheap right this second. $5, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okami has held the crown for best game that's very much like Zelda that isn't actually Zelda for decades.
I will have to say my version of that is also decades old, and I hope this sequel goes better than the sequel to that one.
Is that
No kidding.
Darksiders?
No.
No, it's Beyond Good and Evil.
Oh.
I mean, I feel like Darksiders also follows that pattern.
Darksiders is a pretty good Zelda-like game that is not like Zelda.
Right.
Darksiders
But also,
has sequels.
Darksiders got progressively worse sequel by sequel.
Yeah,
right, but at least had sequels.
Yeah, like Beyond Good and Evil 2 is like,
It has trailers.
man.
Not even trailers. Teasers.
It's got a teaser and
Like we've not heard anything about it in years.
Apparently there was a checkpoint comment about it, and basically it sounds like the original developer like came in and was like, yeah, it's in dev hell.
Look,
And like there's a bunch of disagreements between high up people about the direction we should be taking the game, and there's a lot of basically they were not saying like this, they were trying to grind axes in the media, which I was like, oh, this isn't hell.
Beyond Good and Evil 2 is going to come out, a few months after Winds of Winter.
It's gonna be, and like the last game, this has had a longer dev cycle than Duke Nukem Forever, and I imagine the quality's going to be similar.
Yup.
But yeah,
Oof.
but Okami sequel, like hopefully that's actually happening and will be good.
Well, I haven't been hearing about it for like literally
Exactly.
a decade and a half, so maybe they're just getting started on it.
I mean, it sounds like they're just starting on it literally right now.
Speaking of ill-fated games that Randy Pitchford's attached to, there's going to be another Borderlands.
Ooh, oh, jeez.
Can you tell I don't think much of? Yeah, there's another Borderlands, and the trailer looked cool.
Okay, like
this was not announced at the Game Awards. Let's be completely clear here. This was announced around when the movie came out. They wanted to use the movie for hype for it.
Oof.
Yeah, but like I didn't see the trailer until the Game Awards. Got no clue what's going on in the trailer. Cyber zombies? I don't know.
Oh man.
Wargaming is making a game that looks really cool, but I probably won't play.
Yes, I was excited until I saw who was behind it. And I'm like, oh, I know how wargaming games are. Okay.
I am a sucker, and I probably will play it. And it'll probably be the first wargaming game that I play for more than about 10 minutes. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see. It does look absolutely awesome. I'm just not interested in their style. Rather, I'm not interested in the whole online PvP game thing.
Yes, that's the thing. I mean, I played a lot of MechWarrior. I played a whole bunch of MechWarrior online.
Yeah, and that's fair. It's looking like it's intending to compete directly with that.
Right, and there's space for that.
Well, like, it's another one of those situations where I was super hyped up until the point I saw who was making it. And I kind of know what's going to happen there. I would love to be proved wrong, though. I guess there's a Elden Ring spinoff that's mostly co-op.
What a weird choice.
So we wanted to set Monster Hunter in the Elden Ring setting.
What if are you really into 3 different mods for Elden Ring and also Monster Hunter? Because this is the game for you. Like, are you really into the full co-op Elden Ring mod, which I hear is amazing, by the way, and incongruously just works?
I really want to play this, by the way.
Apparently it just works and is really great. But also the randomizer and the crafting mod, and then also Monster Hunter.
You said crafting mod and also Monster Hunter, and those tend to overlap a lot.
It's fair.
Yeah, like I definitely think of Monster Hunter as a major crafting game.
What a bizarre... It feels like it's from Software's Fallout 76, and I'm totally cool with that, frankly. Like, this is, hey, we want to do something different for a little while. We're going to do something wild. Let's go for it.
I mean, the last let's do something different for a little bit they did was Armored Core 6. So, sure, absolutely. Here for whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I'm just extremely pro giving game devs who have been working on the same thing for a while a chance to do something different.
And on the opposite side of that, there's Outer Worlds 2.
I'm super on board with that. Like,
I am too.
I enjoyed the first one. Like, I need to go back and finish it, but I enjoyed what I played of it. And if you have a higher fidelity version, which is what it sounds like, then I'm on board with that. And also, I loved their trailer.
I did like their trailer. It's like from the studio that brings you Knights of the Old Republic 2. And what were the other ones?
Fallout
3 2 is what they said.
Yeah, it was great. It was just like, it is true. Like, they've been the studio behind second games in a bunch of series.
Neverwinter Nights 2.
Yeah, that was the Neverwinter Nights 2, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and Fallout 3 2, New Vegas. It's Obsidian making a sequel to their own original IP.
And do you know what I would love to have a sequel to?
What's that?
The little CRPG they made that has lots and lots and lots of replayability. Can't think of the name right now. Tyranny, yes.
Yes.
Did they make Tyranny? I didn't.
Yeah,
they made Tyranny.
Man,
like, I would be so mad if I had been laboring at Obsidian for so long and had Larian just come in and tunk on us.
Well, okay, I've heard Avowed, which is basically their Elder Scrolls like, is amazing.
We'll see when it
That's
comes out
coming
this
out
spring.
in February, I think.
Although I can't let this go. Speaking of Larian dunking on you, Solasta 2 got announced.
Yeah, I saw that. Some people like Solasta.
Good for them. I'm glad. I'm glad that they're getting to make another one.
I could never get through. Like, that game still just it opens up with such a weird, like, the way they tell a story in that game does not work at all for me.
Oh, I agree. No. I didn't like Solasta. No. I'm just glad that they get to make another game.
Sure.
Because I have seen what's going on in the industry lately.
That's totally reasonable.
Also, speaking of Obsidian sequels, they did make a sequel to their own game that was much better than their first game. Pillars of Eternity Deadfire is much better than the original.
I've heard this, and I have never managed to get into it. But
I would really like to play the Pillars of Eternity games just as like homework for Avowed, since it's set in the same universe.
I think About is a prequel, but yeah.
I mean, set in the same universe does get me. That might get me interested enough to try it.
I have no idea what Project Robot is. The thing behind the person behind, Shadow of the Colossus and Ico, and
well, there's gonna be a robot and it's gonna make you sad.
I was gonna say it's gonna be sad. Whatever it is. Real sad.
That's largely accurate.
Somebody at Team Ico watched The Iron Giant and was like, "Oh yeah, we haven't made robots make you sad in a while."
Oh dear.
Actually, more likely, they watched Wild Robot, a movie about robots that made me cry like probably a good 50% of it. I am curious, by the way, how much George R.R. Martin continues to be involved in Elden Ring.
I would doubt anything at all at this point.
He's got to do something to keep himself busy.
Yeah, I know. He's not writing his books.
Maybe they can recruit Patrick Rothfuss to help.
I mean, I figure I'm probably going to read the end of that series in, a decade or so when Brandon Sanderson has a month on his schedule.
Oh, hey, new Dave the Diver.
Is that announced? I don't remember seeing that trailer.
Yep.
Dave the Diver into the jungle.
That might have been the thing I was most excited about.
Admittedly, I was trying to catch up on it after the fact, so I'm sure I missed something.
It's a great trailer. I definitely just recommend checking out the trailer. But it looks like they're going to a new location.
Maybe they can stop making me feel bad about murdering all of the rare sea creatures for food. Nah.
I mean, are they going to do sushi this time, or is it going to be some other food palette?
I mean, it's Boncho is still hanging out with you, so probably sushi.
I mean, it looks like it's DLC, so probably still sushi. Considering how much they have given us for free, I wonder, how much is going to be in an actual paid DLC.
Probably a lot.
Probably a lot. Also, if you haven't played Dave the Diver since the other DLCs have come out, you should do that.
I never finished. I'm still in the cold area.
Yes, I need to at least play the Godzilla DLC.
Yes, you do.
Yeah, hopefully you downloaded it.
Oh, why?
Because it was a time-limited availability. You can still play if you got it during the period, you can still play it, but it's no longer available for download.
Wild. I don't know that I got it.
Yeah.
I mean, I play on PC. I'm sure there are ways around this.
Probably.
Yo ho ho.
I don't know. It was a pretty packed year of things that I cared about, but also I don't really care about the construct of the Game Awards. So, but also several of them I noticed were 2026 trailers. So
we'll see them in next year's Game Awards too.
Yeah, we'll see more. Anyway, any more thoughts about the Game Awards. So we're now a little over a week into PoE 2 early access, and my opinions have softened. I am having a better time. It just took a really long time for my build to come online.
Okay, so what do you mean by build came online? I'm curious.
I'm mostly able to charge around the map and not die.
Okay. Do
I
you not
I
have
ha-
resource problems either, I'm guessing?
No, not anymore. Because I have enough. I've gained items that give me back mana on kill, and also I have enough regen to make it work. Like, it's still paltry regen as compared to PoE 1, a game where I have 1500 to 2000 life per second regen. But it's manageable. They also released an update. One of the things in the update was fixing block to where block now, like the passive block now works from any direction. So apparently it was only working from the front, which is why it felt awful. I have somehow landed on a build that is now kind of the new hotness with Titan, where I decided to just swap Stampede out for Shield Charge because Stampede deals more damage. Seemed like an easy choice, and they're both movement abilities, sort of. But also, I've gone down the rabbit hole of priming stuns and making things explode on stuns and dealing ignite damage with everything, so I can kind of just charge around with Stampede and blow things up, and it gets a lot of the whites out of the way, and then I may have to drop my giant hammer, and I now have Hammer of the God, which is, I think, a thing that every warrior is going to use. It's a really long cooldown ability that drops a ginormous hammer on top of something.
On one hand, I like that PoE mostly shies away from cooldown abilities, but also, like, if they're going to make Chronomancer an actual thing, it needs more of them.
Yeah. But, like,
some of them should be not Hammer of the Gods.
I've reached a point where I can't one-shot bosses yet, but I can 2 or 3 tap bosses.
Wow.
So
that's wild to me.
What?
Yeah. So
you blew past me. I think my opinion has been pretty steady. Like, I'm just kind of still plodding along, and the game feels still a little too slow, a little too rough for me. I wish crafting was a little bit better. There's so much potential there that I am just gonna keep going and see what happens.
Well, the problem with crafting is, like, some of the systems that they sold to us just are non-existent. So there's an essence type that, can guarantee a stat and upgrade a blue into a yellow. And that was the promise of how you have deterministic crafting, is that you start with a weaker essence that guarantees a blue stat, and then you use the stronger essence, which guarantees a different stat and upgrades it into a rare item. Like, we were having a conversation earlier today amongst random people that were online and playing a lot in the guild, and we've only seen one of these stronger essences in total, including, like, somebody that is well into maps now and has been doing maps and specifically doing essences, has seen one of the ones that upgrades a magic item into a rare. So, like, there's just a certain unobtainium aspect to a lot of the crafting design, which kind of makes it hard to actually craft anything that's decent. I mean, like, I'm relying on trade to get upgrades. Like, I'm not finding any upgrades. And it kind of feels like that's a worse problem than I normally have in PoE, where, like, I can suffice on reasonable gear in PoE 1 and get started on maps before I need to care about upgrades, but I'm buying stuff off trade just to get through campaign.
Yeah, that's much worse.
Yeah, I don't love that.
I was about to say my take is they solved the builds are a million times stronger than other builds by making it so that if your build isn't a 100kx build, you don't get out of Act 1. Like, I had to respec my build pretty completely just to have the survivability to get past Geonor.
That is a thing.
I feel like the game the game does not do a good job of communicating defenses to you and what defenses matter. And like I went from boy, I die constantly to oh no, this feels reasonable by swapping a single piece of gear out to have evasion instead of energy shield.
Yeah.
And like and I have every available energy shield piece of my tree on sorceress. And like energy shield might just not be very good.
Energy shield used to like you needed tree support in the form of like leech energy shield.
Yeah.
There are several things that make energy shield good in PoE 1. All of them have been nerfed here.
Aha.
Yeah,
leech to energy shield is basically gone. Ghost dance is a thing you could, but that's that takes spirit. You need to equip that.
Yep, it's a meta, like a spirit meta gym thing. I think
that was on the tree before,
and it's also not available to you until you're like, when do you get access to that? Like,
it's
Act 4,
something like that.
Yeah, like
and Divine Shield, which also used to be on the tree, boosting energy shield for strength builds. Also, that's just gone.
Yeah, but it's like, look, it's where my thing was. Okay, I'm a sorceress. Okay, right here, right at the start of the tree, there's the offensive side and there's the defensive side. Defensive side is all about
says a bunch of energy shield things.
It's easy to get to another set of nodes that have energy shield. Clearly, the game is telling me on this character, you should have energy shield as your defense. Is woefully insufficient. Like to the point where I'm probably just gonna at some point I'm probably just gonna like drop all of it and go for pure offense in the tree and evasion or something, because maybe I do evasion e-shield gear. Because like doing the thing that the game told me I should do was wrong.
Yeah, at least at the very start, energy shield is like, first of all, the delay before energy shield comes back is twice as long as it is in PoE 1.
And you can reduce that by a lot.
You can, but you feel it. You feel it real hard when you start.
Yeah.
The one thing go ahead.
But like this is a numbers problem. This could be fixed with numbers.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with that. Like the thing that they struggled with in the first game, I think they continue to struggle with here, is they want to make they want to have every node be weighted about the same as far as how good it is, and possibly have nodes that you have to go further be better. And as a result, your power to start is really slow.
I mostly agree with that, except for there is a bunch of very powerful nodes right at the start. Like
I don't think those
for some classes.
Yeah. I can tell you on Sorcerer.
Starting in the north, it is less. It's a little dire.
Yeah, I do not think that. I think that every number in every node on the Sorceress beginning could be doubled, and it would be okay.
Wow, I just looked at it. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Yeah, like if those numbers were all twice the value, then we would be cooking with gas, I think.
The big problem that I had with Warrior is that the early abilities are not amazing. And it takes a really long time until you get good abilities, and then you just use those from that point on. Like, so it's the same problem that Warrior had, or like Marauder had in PoE 1, but you also got Cleave before you, not Cleave, Sunder before you exited Act 1. So you got your good ability much sooner. I was 40 something when I started to get the good abilities coming online. So, I mean, I think the problem that I had is I just I picked the wrong start, and it was real rough to get through it was real rough to get through Act 2. Act 2 was a beast. And quite frankly, it was the hardest act in the entire game. I am now in Act 3 cruel mode and am where I'm starting to get map drops because the game thinks I should be in maps now. But I'm like just now starting Act 3. But I don't know. Like, it'll be interesting to see what mapping is like, because I am now confident that I will get there in the next couple days. I was not confident when we talked last week that I was going to make it through the campaign, period.
I'm really glad that it turned around for you, because I really am curious what maps are going to be like, and I definitely want to try running them together. Now I'm just not sure if I'm going to make it through with the build that I have, or if I'm going to re-roll and mess around with something else for a little bit. It's very tempting to get distracted by trying something different.
Yeah,
I have to say, like, I am thankful that I played enough Ranger to get used to WASD, because now I have completely switched religion in this game and I'm playing with that.
I am in the same boat. I was really morally opposed to using WASD, and now I am a convert. Yeah, there's still some things I don't love about it, but in this game, with the amount of movement that you really need, and without movement skills, it helps a lot.
You really need to be able to like hug around an enemy's hitbox so that you can stay in the safe area, which is at their feet behind them, because this is a Dark Souls game.
And let me tell you what I can't do. That's part of what made Warrior awful as well, is because, like, basically I had to be up in the mug of every single boss I fought.
Well, I'm pretty up close with grenades, actually. I do have the option to not be close.
But now I drop a giant hammer that procs a even gianter ignite, and oftentimes procs an aftershock. And when it procs an aftershock, which gets its own ignite, that's a one shot of a boss.
Yeah, I apparently was close enough to the meta build that I'm kind of like switching, because my high-minded ideals of going in without any help kind of fell away once I died 3 times to a boss that took 7 minutes each attempt.
I have been sort of proud of myself that I not shouldn't really be, because minions are just sort of strong, but I've still been going through without following anything, and it's still pretty functional. I can see all of the cracks in places where it could be better, but there is a very stubborn part of me that would like to get through to maps with a build that I actually made myself.
Yeah, I'm gonna play until I absolutely can no longer play. And I am breaking into levels of power where I don't feel like I'm just like squishy dying all the time. My build is a mess. It is a hot disaster. It looks like a 9-year-old's magic deck.
I was lucky in that I just happened to luck into something that has become a meta. But like I started off with the player fantasy of, I want to wield a two-hander and have a shield. And also I like ignites, and kind of rolled with that. And right or wrong, that turned into a meta, and that's actually a thing now. And my build looks significantly different than most of the builds, but it's working.
I want to be a lightning mage.
Yep.
And I feel like that is doable, hopefully.
It's so... I think that there is a skill missing that you can get elsewhere, but I finally dipped into occult. I dipped out of elemental magic into occult magic to get the like bone wall ability, to like put spikes up and pin things that run into them. And that was an absolute game changer. And I think that the elemental skills have way, way, way too many functionally identical buttons and not enough tools. Like the fact that there is no reliable, like the fact that there's no like ice wall ability that does something similar.
So about that.
You're going to tell me that the Ice Nova does that. I'm going to tell you it sure as hell doesn't.
Nope, I'm going to tell you Ice Wall is a crossbow skill.
I mean, sure. But again, like there is a core keep enemies away from me defensive kit that is missing from the elemental abilities.
Yeah,
so
sure.
I don't know how you get it, but there's an ability or there's a condition called electrocute, which is supposed to fill this gap.
Could not tell you what that is or how to get it.
So basically it works like my stuns and like freeze. But as you build up lightning, you eventually stun the hell out of the boss with electrocution.
I mean, that sounds great. I don't have any access to that.
Yeah, it's not a thing that happens automatically like freeze and PoE 1. You need specific support gems or skills to do this.
Yeah,
they really should maybe consider like freeze and chill, adding this to electric skills. That should be a thing that just happens.
Yes.
Wait, what is it?
Electrocute is basically a root. There's a new lightning element that's a root.
Yeah, yes, having a root is just an absolute game changer. And yeah, it's just like freeze is not good enough as a secondary element. Like if I were all ice all the time, I think I would be fine and doing enough freeze to make that happen. But like just casually throwing in some freeze as a defensive tool is woefully insufficient for being effective as a defensive tool. But I do like the flamethrower ability. It's very fun.
I haven't gotten much chance to play since the weekend, unfortunately. Had a bit of a week.
One of the other things that I'm noticing is because of Spirit, there are not I find myself not really with as many buttons to press because there are no movement skills. There's a lot less situationally do this thing abilities in this game, I'm finding.
I feel like even early I have a number of buttons.
I feel like early I had more buttons than I do as I am getting my build online though.
That's fair.
I went through a stage where I had too many buttons, and now I am winnowing back down to a few important buttons.
It does make the gimling, you're talking about how you kind of have to take the 20 item slot so that you can unlock the double passive power. That feels like the same thing with +3 skill slots.
Unless you have the spirit to support the act like auras there, that might not be great.
Yeah, +3 skill slots is something I take so that I can use support gems twice.
One of the things that I hate about Spirit is that it's on items. Like if Spirit were just a thing that you got capacity for as you must be this tall to ride this ride, and through completing the campaign, you just got more of it, that would be one thing. And you absolutely do that. But you can also absolutely get an amulet with a ton of spirit on it. And you can also get weapons that are specific to minion items for the most part.
Yep.
That have spirit on them. And I guess the whole, these receptors, these are only used for minions, doesn't bother me. The fact that you can get amulets with it bothers me.
I mean, I feel like spirit on amulet is a lot like movement speed on boots. It's just going to be a thing.
It's just a thing you have to have. If your amulet doesn't have spirit, it's not a good amulet.
And I do wish for things like the crafting bench is gone and vendor recipes are gone, which thank God for that second one. But I feel like there should be a way to fix items that lack this one specific thing that you definitely need on this item that isn't runes, because the runes are not fulfilling that promise.
Well, and runes never get any better, and that's the problem I have with runes. 12 to a resistance just isn't going to cut it for fixing resistances. Like, there are no high-level versions of runes. They're just all the same, stats that you start off with.
Clearly, you need to somehow luck into getting one of the high-tier resistances on your item.
Yes.
Maybe you should be trying to fish for those with your blue items before you Regal and Exalt slam them into something usable. I'm sure that's the plan.
I mean, sure.
You don't have a lot of fishing to do since alterations are gone.
Do you know what's missing from the trade site? Generic resistance searches. Like, you used to be able to look for items that have like 90 resistance of some sort.
That's gone. That's a bummer.
That doesn't exist. You now have to make weighted searches for everything. It is extremely cumbersome.
That probably falls into one of those fix later type things.
Oh, I'm sure.
Can't be a concern right now.
But it makes it really hard to find, okay, I need some gear that has some good resistances on it. I don't care what they are. Like, I'll care as I get further down the line, but I just need large hits of resistances.
It's cool. Somebody will create a website with improved searching, and there will be a secondary marketplace on that, and we'll form a new PoE2 Mafia based off of it.
It's the PoE way.
I mean, then it'll get rolled back into the actual site. That's what they seem to be doing nowadays.
Yeah, the biggest thing that hurt a lot of people. So there's a handful of builds that are real strong and were doing real well, and systematically they've all gotten nerfed to where they're not doing okay now.
Yeah, they're definitely in. We want this game to be way harder than it is, and like we're willing to like nerf people so that the game is as hard as we want it to be.
I don't think
having seen some of the cast on X builds, that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
I don't know,
but why did you create that gym in the first place if you didn't want somebody to use it?
That they still want you to use it. They just don't want it to be as good as it is right now. Like,
so
there's a line between this is useless and this is overpowered.
So I was watching Pox earlier today because new set of Twitch drops are up, and one of his viewers saw all the loot he was leaving on the ground and asked if they could follow a log and loot it because they have no money to respec because they were the Ice Comet build that he was playing previously. So sure enough, like they like he had them following in map and they could no longer do maps anymore. So he was curious and like was watching specifically for comet procs. They were seeing a single comet proc per map for the most part, because basically each action only adds like 1 or 2 energy and you need 300 energy to actually get a proc off now. Like, what's the point of even having the gym at this point?
I mean, the amount of energy you need is based on the casting time of the spell you're using. So Comet is like the worst case. Yeah. But yeah, I get it. It is probably over-nerfed. We'll see if they can arrive on a number that makes sense.
Luckily, the minion nerfs didn't make the class unplayable. There was a tech you could use where basically, like, once you started the loop, it would just continue summoning SRS forever.
That one was funny, and I was planning to try that if I ever got there. But, like, yeah, I'm okay with. They want people to play the game by pressing buttons.
And they really want you to do combos.
Which, like, the build I am doing is 100% doing combos. So I feel like they are winning with me. I wish I had... I feel like you should have more ways of manipulating the dodge roll.
The thing that's frustrating to me too is, like, I've had a couple people in the guild who got stuck on Geonor, and I have backpacked them through. And that is a miserable experience, because what happens is instead of getting the Geonor that is the level of the person who started the map, you get a Geonor that now zooms up to my level. Oof. So they spend the entire fight dead on the floor as I fight an extra tough Geonor.
Oof.
Like, if there's not much of a difference in levels, it's not a big deal. But Yeah, it's real rough when you've got somebody that, you're just trying to help out and it just does not work.
Isn't there a way for you to downscale your level and then it should like be of the appropriate level for them?
I have no idea.
I thought I saw that tooltip somewhere.
Maybe?
I also thought I saw this.
Maybe I've just been doing it wrong. That's entirely possible.
My build did get slightly nerfed, but not gas grenades got nerfed, but only in very specific ways.
I mean, they got nerfed in the way I was using.
Yeah. But now I'm using different minions and it's fine. I can still blow things up.
I was going to say, just replace them with Pyromancer minions. Still entirely on theme.
I did see that Infernalist is like 25% of the top players.
Look, let's be clear. There were 3 builds that were the majority of that list. It was Ice Comet, proc either off cast on crit or cast on freeze. It was Lightning Arrow, Deadeye, which is just exactly the same build that we've had before in Path of Exile 1. Or basically SRS minions. And like a couple of the other ones on the list, like the Chronomancers, were also cast on crit, Ice, Comet. So yeah, like there's 3 dominant builds right now.
It seems like there are a lot of other builds that people think are strong. They're just not fast.
Right.
Yeah.
And also they are not like, it is harder to make it through the campaign as a monk. But people with high level monk builds say they're doing quite well.
I will say that's the thing that I keep thinking about is if I am just playing this game as a single player game that I am playing through and having fun, I'm having fun with this. This is mostly fine, a little frustrating. Whenever I think of the fact that this is Path of Exile and there is going to be League play and at some point they're going to expect me to do all of this again, I'm like, that seems like a big lift. I don't know that I need to do this campaign ever again.
This is what happened to D4 at launch, and they fixed it, so I hope GGG fixes it. I don't know if they want to.
Yeah,
they definitely... Go ahead.
I feel like Diablo 4 and Path of Exile 2 are the same story just being played out in different ways, where I think GGG considered Path of Exile 1 a failure to be the game they wanted it to be, and to some extent I feel like Blizzard, for various reasons, considers Diablo 3 to have been a failure, even though it ended up in a very fun place. Just like Path of Exile 1 ended up in a fun place. And they set out to make the game that they wanted the other game to originally be. It's like Diablo 3 at launch was a way more hardcore game than Diablo 3 that anybody ever cared about.
I mean, that's because they wanted to prop up the real money auction house.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a reason. But I also think, at some point, GG is going to have to realize that, once again, the players will keep fighting them at every turn and trying to turn their ideas into one-button builds.
Yeah, but I'm okay with them fighting that, actually.
Yeah, I kind of want to have 2-button builds be stronger than 1-button builds. Frankly, if I had a current complaint, it's that I think some of the, combo finishers are still too awkward to press. One of the big things right now is that people who are playing grenades are not playing explosive shot because it's too awkward, even though it's the logical combo finisher to grenades.
Yeah. I'm thankful that Bone Shatter is a really good finisher, other than the fact that it's still inside of them saying in the patch notes that they had fixed its aiming. It still goes off, in random directions, but it's a decent finisher. I mean, I honestly like the 2-button playstyle too. I mean, fine with me.
I mean, my standard PoE 1 build has been a 2-button build for a while.
I play mines.
And you didn't automate detonation.
Mines.
Most people didn't play mines that way.
Arc is not enough on its own for me to win. I need to press other buttons.
I know Lightning Conduit is in, but I have no idea how good it is.
Lightning Rod is really good, which interacts with Lightning Arrow.
I mostly just had trouble actually dropping it in a place where an enemy would be by the time I fired an arrow.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, you really have to have scatter shot to broadcast enough of the little lightning rods to hopefully catch someone in the field that you generate.
I do think bosses have too much health, and maybe early bosses have too much health, and then you're supposed to have a ridiculous build online later.
So what's happening with later bosses is the game is scaling damage dealt by bosses way more than they're scaling hit points.
Okay.
So, like, the difference in hit points of an Act 1 Geonor and an Act 1 Cruel Geonor is not much, which itself tells me that baseline Geonor is way too tanky.
I have died like so late on so many different fights, and then like that is so frequently that's the end of my play session because I am demoralized and do not want to keep going.
Yeah, that was my experience going through the first 3 acts of the campaign. Is I had a lot of, well, that was a 5 or 10% wipe. That sucked. I don't want to play anymore tonight. That was what I was going through when I was down on the game last week. But like I've climbed that hurdle and I'm mostly fine with it. I still feel like the game needs a lot of work.
Again, I don't mind that games want to be like, I don't know, more like dodge based or whatever, but like if you're saying, hey, we're going to try and be like a Souls game, you should realize that Souls bosses do not have that much hit points.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know if our listeners are going to know who Kriparian is. Streamer or, Diablo player, big in the Hearthstone scene for a while. His claim to fame in Path of Exile has been he is Mr. Ruthless. He only plays Ruthless. That is the mode of his choice. And he released a review this week where he's like, yeah, no, PoE 2 is way harder than Ruthless. And here's all the reasons why. And he's currently leading the ladder. So it's not like a position of not being informed about this. So yeah, like I'm hoping some of that is taken to heart because like I feel like we are playing PoE 2 Ruthless, but also we never got the normal version. But again, it's early access, so hopefully it can change. Caves of
Qud.
What? Qud?
So in the this has been a good year if you like roguelikes. It's been a wonderful, excellent year if you like roguelikes of any kind. And this is a traditional roguelike that's been in development for like 17 years, something like that. It is finally hit 1.0, published by, I believe it's Kitfox of all things.
Yeah.
Fresh off of their work with Dwarf Fortress.
It definitely has a little of that vibe, despite being not the same type of game at all.
No, I mean, I don't think you can use ASCII graphics on the Steam version of the game, but it wasn't that long ago when that was the graphics of this game.
Yeah. Well, and this is another game where they went hardcore into the simulation aspect. Like
in a lot of ways, yeah.
Creatures have individual body parts, objects have melting points, and that sort of thing. The same sort of thing that leads to weird, crazy stories in Dwarf Fortress, that those aspects, a lot of them are here too.
Yes, you can. This is not nearly as simulationist as Dwarf Fortress is. Like that's not a thing.
It's not the same level of madness, but
it is pretty wild in terms of things it allows you to do. And if you ever look at the achievements list, it's got a pretty hilarious set of ways for you to die. Like if you are possessing a force field and turn off your power emitter, well, that's an option. But this is a traditional roguelike that gives you some options. The classic mode is, of course, procedural generation, permadeath. Pretty sure they do, in fact, keep a bones file. But yeah, it is not an easy game. However, there is also, I don't remember what they call it, but there's a difficulty setting where every time you get to a town, you checkpoint.
Ooh.
So like it's not permadeath. You just have to redo whatever you did after leaving the town. And because this is a game with a pretty significant setting and story, I am glad they provided something like this so you can see it without having to deal with the whole issue of having to start over every time you die. But there's also a third option. There is, I do believe they call it Wander mode, something like that, which sets most faction reputations to neutral or better, and just allows you to go through the game as just an exploration activity instead of having a focus on combat.
That's cool.
That said, if you do want to focus on combat or the game's more normal types of play, the options are kind of hilarious because you start out either as a mutated human or as a true kin, what they call it, basically a cybernetic. So either you can have mutations or you can have cybernetics. You can't have both. And there are sort of subcategories under both of those. You can have 4 legs. You can have spinnerets. You can have a stinger tail. You can have digging claws. You can have precognition. You can have the ability to do mind blasts of people. You can focus specifically on mental mutations if you don't like physical mutations.
Huh.
And the setting is really the entire reason I'm playing this game. Like, this is not a very high fidelity game, of course. It is a tile-based roguelike, but the writing is interesting, and the currency of the setting is water. Like, fresh water is sort of the thing everybody needs, and it is what is used for exchange. A major part of like diplomacy in towns and things is the water ritual, in which you spend water to basically make people like you more. I think based on your stats, the words can change because this may not be your fortress, but it's pretty close.
I've heard about this game so many times, I've never looked at it.
It just hit 1.0, and a thing that apparently happened 6 months ago that I didn't know about until very recently is this game got full and very good controller support.
Oh, nice.
Oh, interesting.
Wow. Okay.
I love retrofuturistic stuff, though. I can see why the setting would get you.
I'm pretty early into it, but it's been interesting to see because, again, this is joining the long list of games that you're going to hear about in a few weeks that has come out of access after like 10 years to be a really solid experience. Like, turns out iteration can make things good. It's not always development hell.
So another game that I'm pretty sure we're going to hear about it on the Games of the Year show, Indiana Jones.
Holy fucking shit, you guys. Like, Sunday, I was writing my stuff for the Games of the Year show and thought, let me take a break from this and play this game that I keep hearing people tell me is good. That I don't think it's probably got much sauce because I've played Indiana Jones games before, but I don't know. Maybe they did something kind of cool this time. And hey, it's Machine Games. Machine Games makes games I've liked.
Yeah, like that was the pedigree really that made me think it was probably going to be an okay game. Because like,
yeah,
even the one I didn't like, which was the one with the pair of daughters, was well crafted.
Mm-hmm.
And like as a game dev, there's some properties that I'm like, this property is cursed. I would not try to make a game in this IP.
Hey, now, Fate of Atlantis was a great game.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, Fate of Atlantis was a decent game.
Yeah, and like, Fate of Atlantis was perfectly fine. It is a game. I need to be clear that it was a point-and-click adventure game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the last time I played a good Indiana Jones game was when point-and-click adventure games were still a thing.
Yeah.
Like, that's been a little while.
Oh, I just looked up how old this was.
It was a LucasArts game.
From
Yep.
1992.
This is also a LucasArts game.
It was very weird to see the LucasArts symbol come up. So I booted up and I was like, I watched a trailer before I bought it and was like, oh yeah, they definitely have some like uncanny Valley Indiana Jones thing going on, because they obviously just don't have a scan of Harrison Ford's face circa 1988. Like, they're gonna do the best, and it'll probably be a fun time. It is so good. This is like spoilers for our Games of the Year show. This is bumping Final Fantasy VII off of my list. That's how good it is.
an RPG focused YouTuber I listen to said put out a video about his games of the year recently, and he said when he reviewed Belghast that would probably be his game of the year, and he said just yesterday that, well, he was wrong. He's a little premature. It's this.
Yeah. So I'm not the biggest Indiana Jones fan. It's never really been my thing. I am a bigger Indiana Jones game for having played this game. Like, I kind of want to go back and watch a bunch of Indiana Jones movies.
You can stop at the third one.
You can.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, stop.
I have limits. But like, I've talked about stealth games before and why I like them. And the thing that makes me like stealth games is not the sneaky part. I do like that. Like, that's fun. But it's entirely possible to have sneaky parts in games that I despise. And in fact, it's more true than not. The sneaky part is not the thing that sells me. It's the like exquisite level design and movement through the space and finding stuff and solving interesting little puzzles, and that is all this game is doing. This is a game. Indiana Jones is taking all of the great parts of a stealth game and removing the bit where you have to sneak around all the time. You can, in the same way that like Indiana Jones does sneak around occasionally, but he's not like a stealth operative. Like, this is a game where if you get seen, he's got a quip about being seen and is gonna like toss out a one-liner about, you know, hey, I guess I'm lost. I'm sorry. All right, punching this guy.
I'm just a tourist, pal.
Yeah, I'm just a tourist, pal. Like, and so like you don't, and you can get overwhelmed. Like you can pick fights that you shouldn't, but it is taking all of the best parts of Dishonored and Hitman and all of these games that like have previously been stealth games and turning it into this like rollicking adventure. And it is so cool. It's got a huge amount of side content that you can just, wander around and do or not. You definitely don't have to do everything, although it likes to reward you for doing a lot of stuff. I am in the second area, and I thought I played through the first area and was like, okay, I understand what this game is doing. This is really cool. I will enjoy playing the rest of this game. The second area is so fundamentally different in the way it's laid out and how you move through it that it's like, oh, I have a whole bunch to relearn about how to play this game suddenly. This is super cool. Like, Thief, one of my favorite games, only really has one kind of level.
Mm-hmm.
It is mostly interiors, tight corridors, careful movement. And the first area that you spend in Indiana Jones is similar. It's tight spaces, lots of verticality. Figure out how to get from here to there through like what doors and staircases and rooftops will get you where you need to be. And the second area is crazy wide open. There's almost no verticality. I mean, there is verticality, but it's like predictable. You can just beeline across the map, and it's still interesting. And like it has this very, very Indiana Jones improvised weapon thing going on.
Good.
There is random the number of things I have hit people with that aren't weapons is wild, and they break constantly.
You can pick up so much stuff.
It's so many things. Like you're finding like wine bottles, guitars, a fly swatter. I mean, you can take somebody's gun and just turn around and start beating other people with it. Guns are definitely, you could shoot guns. They don't have a lot of ammo. You're definitely getting into that like classic Indiana Jones, like pulling the trigger and nothing's happening, click, click, very quickly. And then you just turn it around and hit somebody with it. It's the whip feels great. like it's a traversal tool. You can use it to swing across gaps and climb walls and stuff, but you can also disarm enemies with it. You can yank them towards you so you can punch them. It's immensely satisfying. And it knows exactly how seriously to take itself. Like, it's funny. I've laughed multiple times, and occasionally I've laughed because they're doing something that's like, I think is cute and fun. They clearly, as I said, there's a little bit of the like Uncanny Valley Indiana Jones thing. They can't quite make somebody who looks like Harrison Ford, but they know this. And so the fact that the game is in first person plays with this, and they spend a lot of time taking camera angles that's directly behind Indy so that you can't see his face. Sometimes just to show off. Like the loading into a game, like, you save and quit and come back to play a little bit more the next day. It is the slickest start a game and continue where you left off I have ever seen, and I don't know how they do it, and it's driving me nuts. Because you load in, I start the game, I hit play on Steam, it shows me some splash screens, and it fades into a menu that has me looking at Indiana Jones's back in some location that was like where my last save was. And if I hit continue, the main menu fades out, not the screen, just the UI of the main menu fades out. You see him like adjust his outfit, and then it cuts into first person, and you're playing. There is no load screen.
It is very slick and very cool.
It's absolutely wild. It's purely showing off. I've started to have an idea of how they do it. It's got a super, super robust autosave system. So even if I like do something unbelievably stupid and like accidentally throw a bottle of wine at a bunch of Nazis and they shoot me to death, like I'm not that far back. It's never more than a couple of minutes at most. And it's just like the music, the sound design is great. The music is fun. The writing is great. The writing is hilarious. And like, if this were an Indiana Jones movie, it would be one of the better ones.
Mm-hmm.
You get to like kind of, it's sort of fun because it's a game. You can kind of linger in the spaces that the movie kind of moves you through. So the like tutorial, the tutorial is in whatever college. I forget the name of the college. But like, you can wander around a 30s era college and have all kinds of little notes for Indy to find and comment on. You can take money from Nazis you punch out, and he's like, can't trust fascists with cash. He's like constantly making little one-liners. They have there's the supporting characters are all great. It's both an incredible love letter to Indiana Jones, the property, and also just so fun.
I haven't had a chance to play a ton yet, but I absolutely loved the beginning and how they kind of, the really, really early tutorial, how they eased you into the controls and stuff like that. I had a great time. I thought that was pretty fantastic.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that. Yes, there's a 2-layered tutorial with its like basic controls and then advanced controls. And honestly, like, if you're more of a fan of Indiana Jones than I am, you will recognize the very beginning of the game a lot faster than I did.
Oh yeah, I was playing it and I had a huge smile on my face the whole time.
But it's so good. It's what if you're thinking about things you might expect from Indiana Jones, it's great. It's such a slick delivery.
Yeah. And yeah, the first bit in the college is really great. Like the first bit of like his conversation with Marcus at the end before the adventure begins. I'm like, this is like so Indiana Jones. It's perfect. The writing is very good.
The voice alike.
Oh, Troy Baker, he really nails it.
Yeah, it's Troy Baker, who I normally associate with Troy Baker voice. Like,
Yeah, I mean, like he plays himself in a lot of games.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. He is not playing himself here. He is playing Indiana Jones. Absolutely nails it. Like the entire Indiana Jones range, like from like half growly mumble like comments to himself to like mock outrage at whatever.
This belongs in a museum.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, like some fascist breaks a vase. He's like, do you have any idea how old that was? Their writing choices are great. The characters, they've introduced like probably five like friendly characters to me, and I like all of them. The tools you get are cool, like simple but cool. They have really, really clever puzzles. Like there's a decent amount of the game that is you like puzzling your way through a space, and they have a manual hint system that is so well done. At one point, you get a camera. You frequently use this camera to take pictures of a variety of things that are plot relevant or not, for XP, for missions, for whatever. But if you're doing a puzzle, you can if you pull your camera out, you'll get a prompt that's like, take hint picture. And so if you feel like you need a hint, you can take a picture and you'll get a hint.
That's clever.
And it's super clever. You know what you're going to get if you take that picture and get a hint. You can decide, nope, I think I can figure this out on my own. Or you can like take the picture and figure it out. It's got clever puzzles, very, very Indiana Jones feeling puzzles. I've never appreciated more the fact that like Indiana Jones is a professor. So if you need to drop a bunch of exposition, it's just Indiana Jones teaching you about stuff, because that's what he does. And it feels perfectly natural. It's so good. Absolutely just wild surprise. Smashing through my expectations for the end of the year like a wrecking ball. Like there are games, I haven't beaten it yet, but there are games at the top of my like favorite games of all time lists that I need to like take down and evaluate against this.
At some point, you should really play Wolfenstein Old Blood, which is a standalone sequel to the Machine Games Wolfenstein series, but it's very much Wolfenstein, a stealth game.
I have. I liked it. It was great.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. This is like...
Because it also had a lot of improvised things to solve puzzles and...
Yeah. They've learned... It is so neat to watch Machine Games like learning and trying new things, but it hits every note so well. I absolutely love this game.
I will have to try it out, because I do love Machine Games. I love the Wolfensteins.
Like if you have listened to me many times, I have gone on about how much I love stealth games on the show, and you're like, yeah, but I don't really like the sneaky part. Somebody has finally made a game that's like everything I like about these games without the bit where you need to be like stealth. Because mostly you don't. You might get in more fistfights than I do, but oh no.
Yes, I will probably play a much more brawler indie than you did.
You absolutely, honestly, like I catch myself playing a more brawly indie just because, like, I don't know, I'm Harrison Ford and I'm tired of this shit. Sometimes I'm like, I mean, it has immersed me so well that I'm like, I'll look at a thing and I'm like, oh, there's a patrol pattern. Or I could just punch these three dudes. Let's just punch these three dudes. You can throw items, anything you pick up, which is a lot of things, and it's always funny to do. There's various achievements for using. There's a ton of achievements for using silly things to whack other people, like throwing an apple at them, smashing people with a guitar.
Also, the fly swatter.
The fly swatter.
What is this a literal fly swatter?
Yeah, literally a fly swatter. You just pick up a fly swatter. There's a bunch of locked chests around, and the best way to get into them, because it's not like you're going to find the key. You just smash the lock open, but you need to find a hard enough item. You need to find a hard enough bashing item to bash the lock, like a drumstick or an apple or a fly swatter is not going to do it. But like a claw hammer, yeah. It plays with light in a super clever way. Like there's places that are dark and you need to light your way around. And you only have so many hands. So like you can hold a torch in one hand, but then you can't like climb your whip. So you have to start getting clever about how you're going to keep light around. And it's not hard, but it's just a thing to think about. And it feels, very Indiana Jones, waving a torch at things that you don't want to get closer to you, or throwing a torch across a gap so you can swing across and have light on the other side. Anyway, absolutely love this game. Like it's unbelievably good. In that I would not have believed it was this good when I bought it. Also cathartic.
It's always good to punch Nazis.
The punching does feel very good.
That's probably a show. Any final thoughts about anything?
In case we don't have a podcast next week, happy holidays, y'all.
Yep.
Indeed.
I'm not saying we won't. I'm just saying it is like 4 days before Christmas.
We haven't planned that far ahead, so.
Yeah.
I was like, what is next week? Oh, right.
Anyway, hopefully you enjoyed the show, and we will see you again next time. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.
See ya.